So we have by the channel Yarnhub when a B-17 tail fell with a gunner inside. That sounds scary as hell. I think we watched the video about like the cockroach tank from Poland before from this channel. Really good stuff.
It's November 20.
By the way, I'm still like heavily learning about World War II. I've been watching the World War II channel by Indy Nidell and the team. I got to Operation Overlord and Neptune D-Day right now. I'm watching the 24 hours D-Day documentary right now. Really good stuff. I'm feeling like knowing a lot more stuff than ever.
9th, 1943, and in the tail of the B-17, Rikki-Tikki-Tavi sits tail gunner Jean Eugene Moran.
What's like that?
There are over 300 planes in the air to target Bremen, a very heavily defended industrial city. With just 10 minutes to target, everyone nervously scans the skies when the inevitable call comes over the intercom.
Bandit, 12 o'clock high!
The German pilots know if they can come in straight and level from the front, they'll avoid being hit by the top turret gunner and the ball turret gunner from the planes they're targeting. A staffel of
B-17 are crazy, right? I remember the story of, from the Sabaton song, right? No Bullet Flies. Was it? About like Franz Ziegler and the other guy, like that one B-17 on a bombing raid to Germany who got absolutely destroyed but kept flying. And the German pilot that like helped them get past the, AA gun at the Atlantic Wall. Like B-17, I guess they're called Flying Fortress for a reason, right?
F-110s comes straight onto the formation. They're carrying a new weapon, 21-centimeter Werfergranate mortar rockets.
Whoa.
The 110s release a barrage that streaks towards the box formation of flying fortresses.
That's scary.
In the pilot seat of Rikki-Tikki-Tavi, the 21-year-old pilot, First Lieutenant Linwood Langley, barely has time to register what's happening as a rocket streaks by the cockpit, barely missing him.
Jeez, did you see that? Tail the
That's
crew.
scary.
One port is down.
First the rockets, then the guns. The BF-110s are now in range, and they fire with all they have. As the 110s roar by, navigator, Second Lieutenant Jesse Orison, is ready with the cheek gun. In a moment, the enemy have gone past.
Get him, Gene!
But at the back, Gene is ready and peppers the 110s as they fly straight on and then peel off in pairs. Squinting in the distance, he sees small dots. There's more.
Bandit,
There's a lot of them.
He shouts as roaring in from above and behind are more German planes than Gene has ever seen. BF-109s
BF-109.
and the dreaded Butcherbird FW-190s.
Those look more familiar.
Then there's mayhem as the world becomes a mass of whirling planes and tracer fire.
Gee, there's too many.
Empty shell casings pool on the floor of the fort.
That's insane.
All the gun positions send as much lead as they can towards the enemy.
Aircraft level.
The intercom is awash with the gunners calling out the positions.
12 o'clock high. I got one.
I mean, just shoot everywhere, you did
I think I'm
something.
peeling off. Watch out for flak.
Then, a dirty cotton wool puff is seen exploding ahead.
Flak, 11 o'clock low.
Damn.
The sky is covered in 88mm flak. Some of the German planes feel off,
gun.
but others don't seem to care about the flak and just press on their attack.
They think, it's a game and friendly fire is disabled.
The B-17s are buffeted about as the flak explodes all around them.
Man.
The American planes are hit and go down. Moran can see them fall out of formation and drift behind and
That's
below.
insane.
Pilot to Bombardier. Curtis, you ready to drop them? Yes, sir. Bombay doors coming open.
The Bombay doors are open. They wait nervously for the lead plane to drop their ordnance.
Damn.
Just drop the damn bombs, will you?
You need to wait for the target, otherwise there's no point.
It's away, and Bombardier Donald Curtis releases the bombs.
Bombs away.
The plane is instantly lighter and lifts as the bombs go down. The Bombay doors grind closed, and Langley turns and heads for home. The flak slowly and mercifully peters out.
Damage report. Navigator, okay. Full turret, okay. Only some holes in the wings and fuselage. Looks like we're fine, Lieutenant.
The captain's amazed. Fortresses are tough.
The pressure
Yeah,
looks good.
yeah.
The 4 engines are seemingly unaffected and running well. And
But-
relief washes over the crew.
But
We're gonna make it.
Before the echo of those words dies in the ears of the men, another cry goes up.
Bandits, they're back.
yeah,
A
of
swarm
course.
of enemy fighters is spotted
Like-
coming in from above.
They were just turning around.
All the men stare at the vast numbers of
That's what I
planes
thought.
coming at them. The Germans are back to enact their revenge for Bremen.
Show 'em, boys.
The thud of the guns and the crash of shells fills the ears of every man on
Like,
board
come on,
as the entire
fuck
box
off.
formation lights up the sky.
That's
2
funny.
o'clock. 6 o'clock.
The formation is rocked from every angle.
Like I'm trying to read what's on the shell like it's something important.
Fortresses go down in the melee, but the crew of Ricky Tikki Tavi are too occupied to register. Gene takes aim at an FW-190 that zips past. And then a BF-109.
Damn.
He can't be sure if he's hit any of them, but he picks another target and battles on.
2 o'clock high. Watch out.
The B-17 shakes under the impact of another volley, and
Damn, I feel like the kind of hard thing is that how do you avoid friendly fire because he's shooting behind him, and behind him there's also like a bunch of the other flying fortress, right? And the enemy plane passing in between. I feel like there's probably a lot of friendly fire because he's not just shooting overhead, like he's shooting straight at the plane coming to him, and that's kind of the trajectory of the other one. So there might be a lot of friendly
Clock
fire.
high. Watch out.
the B-17 shakes under the impact of another volley and slowly starts to drift back from the formation. Gene notices the gap with the main group getting wider and wider.
Oh,
What's going on?
Quickly, he looks over his left and right shoulder. There's
You're
no
still?
smoke from the engines. A B-17 in formation is vulnerable to the overwhelming number and speed of fighters like these, but on its own, it's a death sentence.
Yeah.
Slowly, the other gunners get on the intercom.
We're slipping back. What's going on? Langley,
There's no word from the captain.
oh, did he get shot?
Gene shouts into the mic,
what's the matter? We're not staying up in formation.
all the while the gap growing bigger. Then, over the radio, comes the message.
We're being pushed out.
Whether that was the captain or the co-pilot, no one could tell. But
We
soon,
shout.
the B-17 was completely left behind. The Germans
Why?
spot the vulnerability of
Like,
the
is
plucky
the engine
Ricky
actually not
Tikki
working
Tavi
that well?
and get busy with their deadly work. The sound of gunfire is interspersed with the screams of men being hit.
Damn.
The plane flies on straight and level, but no word is heard from the captain or the co-pilot. In many interviews, Gene was
So
too
bad.
emotional to give details of what happened next. However, in the excellent book Tailspin, written by a close friend of Gene's, it states that from the bottom of the bomber, ball turret gunner Wilbert Pee Wee Provost, Gene's best friend, screamed,
Oh, this son of a bitch. He's coming up at us. He's coming right up our ass. Buddy, I'm done.
Gene shouted for his friend, and he could hear shots breaking the plexiglass dome. There's a scream over the
As I actually you can say earlier, like if I was to be like on a plane like this, I guess this undershot is kind of scary because you're like hanging from under, right? But at the same time, it seems like it would be hard to actually shoot at it. But maybe not. They just need to come up from the bottom. That's crazy. I guess there's no good spot.
intercom, and a twin-engine Messerschmitt fighter flies up and passes the rear of the bomber, right in front of Gene's guns.
Shoot it down.
Gene's 50 cals ring out at the German fighter and find their mark. Smoke trails from the stricken machine, and it falls out of view. No more is ever heard from the ball turret gunner.
Damn.
At that moment, a BF-109 pulls up alongside. Gene tries to swing his guns to the right to take him out, but the German knows the B-17's arc of fire and stays just outside of the danger zone.
Damn.
Gene locks eyes with the pilot. Then the German gestures. He points at Gene, then
Yeah.
points at the ground.
Land
Gene
or we're
just
gonna
stares
kill
back.
you.
The German repeats the gesture. And then it strikes Gene that he is being given a chance.
Right,
A
obviously.
chance to bail. Was he the only one left? Had the remaining crew died or
That's a good
bailed
question.
already? He can see the other German planes waiting in the distance. It's literally a life or death decision. Gene would never
Yeah.
get to make that decision. The temporary truce is shattered by the crack of gunfire. Someone on Rikki Tikki Tavi is still alive and is shooting at the German. Whatever choice Jean had has now disappeared. In a moment, the Bf-109 turns and is gone. With that, the German planes move in en masse to deliver the killing blow. The tail section becomes a hailstorm of metal shards and shrapnel. Jean is thrown to the floor. He struggles back to his position and tries to fire, but it's no use. His guns are jammed.
Damn, the narration is so good in the anticipation and the animation. Yeah, we know it's like the tail is gonna fall. How does it survive? How does that work? I'm still like waiting for it to happen.
He seems to be on autopilot, and despite his injuries, he gets to work on the gun. Hope fills him as he manages to get one gun to fire, just as more bullets slam into the plane and into Jean.
Oh,
he lets
shit.
out a cry of pain and anguish as both his arms are hit. But despite 2 broken arms, he manages to fire off a few more rounds.
That's
before
badass.
being hit in the chest, breaking several ribs.
Wait, so I'm confused. What kind of shot is he taking? Like, it's not piercing him, it's just like blunt force? Interesting.
Gun position is now a scene of total devastation. The plane lurches and goes forward in its death throes. Jean feels himself being pushed into his seat as the plane starts to hurtle downward.
Oh
The
shit.
parachute is shot up, but there's a spare near the
Oh,
tail
he can
wheel.
get a parachute maybe.
He can see some of the crew, but they're laying motionless. There's a gut-wrenching groan as metal tears. He can feel the floor beneath him move.
Man, at this point, like, what do you want, right? Like, if that was me, I don't know. I'd rather like just be like take a bullet that just finishes me off. I don't know if I want to feel the plane start to descend or the plane be engulfed in fire or something like that. Yeah, at this point, I guess I'd rather a bullet just hit me.
Almost like he's being pulled backwards. He grabs hold of anything he can, and he watches the sky appear, and then the main fuselage drop away from the tail. He desperately grabs the floor of the tail section and pulls with all his might. Screaming with pain into his mask, he watches with horror as he sees the Rikki Tikki Tavi sink below him, while he remains in the tail section.
How did you survive
In the nose
this?
section, though, navigator Jesse Orison and the bombardier Donald Curtis fire their guns at the seemingly countless planes
So there's
buzzing
still
them.
people alive.
There's just too many, and they're too fast. Bullets strike the plexiglass, hitting Curtis and pushing him back into Orison. The plane is nose down. Orison wrestles with Curtis's limp form.
I mean, you lost literally the back of it. Can you still do anything at this point? Like, is it still maneuverable without the
And
tail?
manages to get a parachute on him before the entire plexiglass nose shatters, and Orison is thrown from the plane. Jagged glass rips into his legs. He falls and pulls the ripcord, screaming with pain. Instead,
Man.
he sees the tail section of the Rikki Tikki Tavi. He remembered seeing the rudder and elevators fluttering as it whirled around and fell. Little did he know, his friend was still inside.
How is he gonna survive? That's insane. How is he gonna survive from this?
There were at least 3 eyewitnesses who watched the tail fall. Some more fanciful accounts even reported that Jean kept firing as he fell.
I don't think
But
so.
according to Jean, that did not happen.
Okay,
Inside the tail, the force of the spin is tortuous.
I can't imagine. There's
The
no way you're
speed of
fine.
the spin and air pressure pins him into place, unable to move, and a red mist covers his vision as blood seeps into his
Yeah,
eyes.
my head
The
would
fall
just
seems to take
explode.
forever. The tail falls and falls, and eventually slams into trees with a violence that a living man should not feel.
You're telling me he survived that?
But
Are you
Jean did.
serious? I thought he would maybe manage to get the other parachute and jump from that. How? Is this because of the spinning? Like, did the spinning and locking him in place against the back, you know, in some way absorb, mitigate, or spread the impact or some shit like that? Is there such like, physics and gravity logic?
Through his damaged eyesight, Gene sees a light at the end of a tunnel.
Ow.
He crawls towards the light. He feels pain from his broken arms and can feel his fillings loose in his mouth. But still, he crawls towards the light. And then he falls.
Yeah. Yeah, good quality
Miraculously,
Akumaru.
he finds
Awesome
himself
stuff.
on a forest floor. The tail section of the Rikki Tikki Tavi is hanging above him in the trees. He lies there for a moment, elated. He's survived, but not without injury. He
But
reaches up to
ow.
his head carefully with his broken arms. There's a crack in his skull, so big he can feel the softness in between the gap. Shortly, he can hear voices, half expecting to be killed by locals who occasionally enact revenge upon the falling bomber crews. He was heartened to hear the voices speaking French. Expecting to find a dead man, French workers from a nearby camp and several German soldiers find Gene. He's dragged through the forest roughly and is transported to a camp where a Serbian doctor operates on Gene, putting a metal plate in his head to cover his exposed brain. Gene's injuries were not only physical though. While recovering in the POW hospital, he experiences frequent nightmares.
I mean, that would be insane PTSD, yeah. I don't know, like this is the kind of nightmare that would come back of you falling from the sky like that, pinned into place, unable to move or do anything. I guess they're not gonna explain, again, what kind of theories there is about why he was able to survive. But fair enough.
Falling, screaming. Eventually, Gene made a recovery from his injuries, and after the war, he was released and repatriated, along with his lifelong friend and only other survivor, Jesse Orison. In 2022, 8 years after Gene's death, his friend, John Armbruster, released Tailspin, telling Gene's story. It's an excellent book that we very much recommend.
Sure, yeah. And rip to the rest of the crew, yeah. This is the people surviving free fall without parachute, but it's extreme luck. I mean, I do remember, for example, like a case of like some passenger airplane where some lady like fell in the Amazon forest or something, and she was basically stuck to her seat, and she crashed on her seat, and I think she survived from that. And then she survived in the forest.
Did you hear about the mortar gunner who fell without a parachute and survived? Yeah, that's one film everyone should watch.
Alright. Insane. Great story. Second video I see from this channel, I really like it. The other one was the cockroach tank of Poland, but man, that is insane. I mean, I'm sure again there's some kind of like logic to it. Obviously, we'll never know the full story, the full details, right? Like it's not like there was at the time anyone to analyze the crash site and think of the logic of how he survived. I'm thinking like whether he crashed straight to the ground or in the trees, like the impact would just blow him apart. So I don't get it. Yeah. Maybe the shape of the tail was actually like slowing down the speed of the fall, but the spinning would make it faster, no? I don't really know, but it's an insane story. It's an insane story. Yeah. Okay. I mean, really good video. I love this kind of stuff. Again, I've been really learning a ton about World War II recently from the World War II channel on YouTube. But getting like the super specific like soldier stories like this are always very interesting. Yeah, love it. It reminds me that as a big fan of the TV show Band of Brothers and the Pacific, I think there's a new series recently by the same people and Steven Spielberg, I think, Master of the Airs or something, which is about like the air fights of World War II. I need to watch that show eventually. Crazy story. Okay. Just insane. It's unbelievable, really. Okay, that was nice.